Southeast Development Commission is an instrument that we have been advocating for so long. There have been 5 presidents, there have been 6 military administrators, and the Southeast kept appealing and asking for this. In the last government, it got close, passed, scaled the 3rd reading, it was killed again. Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the only one that said, take it, and signed it into law. First of all the other 4 or 5 development commissions that were created, Southeast was number 1. So what you've seen, I think probably is best that I summarize what the last year has been.
Okay.
We got this appointment on the 6th of December 2024. That's when our appointments or our nominations were announced. It is one of those organizations that needs to go through Senate clearance. So whilst we were appointed, and we're very thankful for that, also thankful to the president for giving us this platform. It was me and another 5 executive directors, and also Chief Emeka Nwogu as the chairman, former minister of labor, and some very distinguished personalities around on the board. We felt as the management team, myself and the 5 EDs, one from every state in the Southeast, we felt that this was a huge opportunity and that we needed to start work even before we were confirmed. So we like to say we held about 5 management meetings to discuss and debate on the future of this commission and what we would do once we commenced. So because of our experience, we went back to the manifesto by the president and we read it over Christmas. Every single one of us read it 2-3 times. And the first meeting we called once we came back, January 2025, before we were confirmed though, the first meeting we called was to sit down in a room whilst going through the confirmation process in Abuja.
Yes.
To itemize and identify what are those things that the Southeast needs, what are the problems that we are trying to solve. My brother, there's high youth unemployment, high youth underemployment, there's radicalization,
yes,
there's strong reorientation needed, there's huge infrastructure deficit, right? There are enormous erosion issues. So the problems are huge. If World Bank summarizes it well, they say the region needs about $10 billion spending on infrastructure yearly. So the question is, amidst all these issues, how do we move forward? So we came up with something called the strategic roadmap, right? Which we started piecing together, which is like a small plan for the next 3-4 years that we are going to implement once we've set up the organization, budgets are passed, and funding starts to come. And that plan essentially looks at the Southeast and says, what can we do now? What can we do in a year? What can we do in the next couple of years? It has a number of areas. And it essentially says, starting from the first, which is what we call the Southeast Regional Security Integration Program. It recognizes that the governors are in charge of security. But it also says that given the proximity of the Southeast, given some of the feedback we've also gotten from the governors, if you saw what was said at the last forum we held, that there might be need, they would like some of us in the SCDC to come up with a security arrangement working with the state government that we can support. I think in Governor Soludo's words about 3 weeks ago, he said a regional security framework, architecture and infrastructure. Maybe have a command and control somewhere in Enugu for the whole region. My brother, if you've worked with governors, you know that if you want to have that conversation and be taken seriously, you will not tell them, Your Excellencies, governors, please give us the funds. Let's help you build it. They say, he wants to steal this money. You have to bring the money. You have to also put some skin in the game. Put something on the table so that then they know you're serious. And then we'll say, Your Excellencies, you're the leaders. Can we put your security experts in the room and craft what should work that can help us have a one unified market in the Southeast? So that's the first program for the SCDC. The second is what we call the Southeast Regional Industrial Program. Every state in the Southeast, ideally, you hear a development commission. People think a commission that has money set aside, let's start doing quick jobs, boreholes, contracts, and what have you. But you also have to take a look at what is going on in the region. If I just go through, Governor Winfrey is building bridges, 10, 12 mega bridges, mega roads, dualizing roads. You move to Enugu, he's channeling his economy on tourism and hospitality and healthcare, largest hospital, 300 rooms, all of these different things. You move to Anambra, the governor is about to start building 3 new cities at the same time, 1 industrial, 1 commercial. He's dualizing all federal roads. He's making huge impacts in education. Governors that are already in the region are moving resources to the local government so that the local governments can take life again. You go into Imo, the governor has dualized many roads, or is wearing a new look. You pop into Abia, Aba looks like a completely different place. So when thinking about having a development commission, it's an indictment on the Igbo man and even Nigerians to say that with this crop of governors that are doing so well, that we want to go as a regional commission and start doing things at the communal or local level. So for us, we were very strategic and said, we are going to try to create a situation where we work closely with the state governments and roll out programs that support initiatives that they are driving so that we can have a coordinated and more prosperous region. So therefore, the second program that we have captured is something we call the Southeast Regional Industrial Program. Essentially what it does is that it says, Ebonyi has special agro-processing zone, pretty much an agro-industrial park they're thinking about and working on now. Enugu has different special economic zone and free trade zones. Anambra has Anambra mixed-use industrial city. Imo has Orashi special oil and gas free trade zone. Abia has Abia integrated industrial park zone. Our own view is to create, instead of building roads from Iftedunu to Aba, that's something the local government chairman in either Dunukofia and Njikoka can connect and build. We'll rather support our state governors and take roads into industrial parks, because this is the program captured on a few pages of Mr. President's Renewed Hope Agenda manifesto that we will do. Because when you take infrastructure into industrial parks, it creates investment in industries, and those industries create jobs, and those jobs are the middle class, and that middle class are the people who spend money to catalyze an economy. That's 2. The third program we have captured is something we call the Southeast Investment Company.
Good news! From anywhere you are in the world, you can now be our guest on BAM. As long as you have an internet connection and a mobile device, you can now be interviewed from our studio anywhere in the world. Contact the numbers on your screen to book a session with us.
The role of it is to basically say, we know that budgeting and funding from government can be quite challenging, right? So how can we make a sustainable situation where we're able to raise capital from the private sector, raise capital from Igbos, and raise capital from even Yorubas, raise capital from international organizations, and bring that money into the Southeast to develop major infrastructure projects. So through the Southeast Investment Company, that's where we'll be doing a lot of feasibility studies for the Southeast Gas Master Plan. We'll do feasibility studies for the Southeast Regional Rail. We'll do feasibility studies for the best location to site a river port. Also, again, in collaboration with the state government. Then you move on to another area, which is really the human capital development for our young people. Because our view is that we have to be structured to ensure we make the right investments vis-a-vis in people and in hard infrastructure. If you build feasibility studies and eventually in 2-3 years get your rail, if the young man or woman does not understand the importance of that rail and doesn't have collective ownership of that rail, they'll be the ones to destroy it. They'll be the ones to remove the different boats and what have you on the tracks. So therefore, I think, and from our own estimates, this region has 74 or 75% under 35. You cannot be a government agency that is focused on the region and only focuses on heavy infrastructure. More so, in line with the manifesto of the government that we're working for, Mr. President. We pulled some areas in that document that speaks to the young people and providing them support, but we're thinking about it differently.
Yes.
So the next program we have captured is what we call the Southeast Venture Capital Program. You look at our universities, you look at our tech hubs, you look at our computer centers, there's so much innovation from young people. But the biggest problem is with that innovation, they push it to the level they can, and then funding becomes a problem. So without that venture capital, all you have is underutilized potential in our young people. They keep going to Lagos in search of opportunities, and then after Lagos, if nothing comes out of that, the next is to Japa to see if they can find a job working in some supermarket. So our view is that we want to invest in innovation here in the Southeast. We have our own Mark Zuckerbergs. We have our own Inya Boyejis. We have our own Paystacks. We have our own Money Points. These boys and girls are here, but they just need to be given that opportunity in a structured program. And that's what the Venture Capital Program will do. The other form of youth empowerment that we're looking at, which we commenced the thinking and structuring last year, is the Southeast Grassroots Sports Program. It is so important. Not only is it a point in our manifesto, but it's something that the region already has the raw potential for. It just needs to be structured properly and the right investments made. The other area, the other two more areas is one, the Southeast Agro Development Program. What do we want to do there? The biggest hindrance to agriculture in the Southeast is land development. If you go to Aba, you go to Ifteduno, and they give you 10 hectares of land, you see a lot of heavy stump trees sitting there. Where you see those trees, it means you can't use a tractor. It means you will have to only use your hands, your hoe, and be planting around the trees. So our job is to see how we can reduce the risk to ensure investment comes in. So we have a program that will go in, clear the land, work with the state government and the community, and then offer the land to investors for mechanized agriculture to address our food security concerns, but also address job creation in the region and therefore boost that economy. The last 2 points from our plans is one around it's one around leadership. Leadership is extremely critical. We're extremely passionate about it. It's very important. And we believe that we are going to create what we call a fellowship program where young people can actually apply and come in and work with us at SCDC for a 1-year internship. And we'll push them. We'll get them to work extremely hard, learn public policy, learn budgeting, learn community stakeholder engagement, all of these different things. Why? Because it's so important to groom the next batch of young leaders. This thing is the most critical thing. You can build El Dorado here, but if they're not young men and women that are sitting back and ready to devote their future to serving humanity, everything falls like a pack of cards.
Good news. From anywhere you are in the world, you can now be our guest on WAM. As long as you have an internet connection and a mobile device, you can now be interviewed from our studio anywhere in the world. Contact the numbers on your screen to book a session with us.